Have you ever felt like something is changing in the world around you? Something so big, so fundamental that it's impossible to ignore? I know I have. And it's not just the headlines we read every day or the debates we hear on the news. It's deeper than that. It's a shift in the way we live, the way we think, and the way we're being watched. Picture this. You're walking down the street, your phone buzzing in your pocket. It's not just a reminder to check your messages, but a digital trace of your every movement. You go to the store and pay for your groceries, your card buzzing with the swipe of your hand. You don't need cash or even a wallet. Everything you need is right there in your pocket, on your phone, in your wrist. It's convenient, it's efficient. But is it really freedom? And then you hear the news that yet another country is rolling out a new form of identification. Biometric data is being collected, digital IDs are becoming mandatory, and suddenly your life is tied to a digital thread you can't break. Now, I know this might sound like something out of a dystopian novel, but the truth is, these are the very things we're starting to see right now in places like the UK, in Mexico, even here in the States. The lines between our physical lives and the digital world are blurring at a speed we never imagined. But the question I want to ask you today is, where does this all lead? Is this just progress? Or is this the beginning of something much darker? Something that has been foretold in the Bible for thousands of years? Stay with me for the next 20 minutes, and let's walk through the technology, the policies, and yes, the prophecy that might just be shaping the world we're entering into. But more importantly, let's talk about what we as individuals can do in a world that feels like it's losing control. Because in the midst of all this change, there's a truth we can hold on to. A truth that can bring peace even in the chaos. So, let's dive in and explore this together. In the blink of an eye, the world has changed. I don't know about you, but I can feel it. It's as if we're standing on the edge of something big, something we've never quite experienced before. We've all heard the stories, maybe even read the prophecies. But what if the world we're living in right now is exactly what was predicted? A world where technology, innovation, and convenience come with a price. The kind of price we've been warned about for centuries. You see, we live in an age where technology is moving faster than we can keep up. We've got smartphones, smart homes, and now we're talking about smart everything from our cars to our watches, even the very way we shop. But here's the thing. As these technologies grow, so do the ways they can be used to control us. It's like the lines between the good and the bad, the beneficial and the dangerous are getting harder to see. But the Bible, yes, the very same Bible that has stood the test of time, tells us something that might make us stop and think. In the book of Revelation, it speaks of a time when people will be marked, controlled, and unable to buy or sell without that mark. For many of us, that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, something way down the road. But what if I told you that the technology we're seeing today is moving us closer to that very reality? And not in the distant future, but right here, right now. Today, we're facing a world where digital identities, biometric data, and cashless societies are becoming the norm. Countries are rolling out systems that track our every move, our every purchase, and yes, even our very identity in places like the UK, Mexico, and even here in the US. Digital IDs are becoming mandatory, and your personal data is being collected in ways that we've never seen before, and that's just the beginning. We're heading into a time when everything we do, from what we buy to where we go to how we communicate, will be monitored, recorded, and controlled by systems far more powerful than we ever imagined. But here's the thing. I believe this is no coincidence. I believe this is part of a greater plan. A plan that was set in motion long ago, in a time before any of us were born. And if we're not careful, we might just find ourselves in a world that feels more like a prison than a place of freedom. But here's the good news. We don't have to be afraid. Because even in the midst of all these changes, there's a truth that can guide us, that can give us peace, and that can give us hope. And today, we're going to dive into that truth. We're going to look at what's happening around the world, how it connects with biblical prophecy, and how we can respond in a way that honors our faith, our freedom, and our future. So, let's take a look at the rise of digital IDs, biometric data, and the technology that's shaping our world. We'll explore the dangers, the promises, and the prophecies that seem to be unfolding right before our eyes. And by the end of this, I want you to walk away with a deeper understanding of where we are, where we're headed, and most importantly, how we can navigate this age of technology with faith, wisdom, and hope. This is just the beginning of our journey together. Let's dive in. Now, let's talk about one of the most significant shifts happening in the world today, the rise of digital IDs. It's something we're all hearing about, and honestly, it's happening faster than many of us realize. What started as an idea to make our lives more convenient is quickly turning into something much bigger and, frankly, much more concerning. You see, a digital ID is more than just a digital version of your driver's license. It's a complete digital profile that includes your identity, your financial information, and even your health records, all stored in one place. It might sound like a dream for convenience. After all, who wouldn't want to carry everything they need in their phone or on their wrist? You can get through the airport faster, make purchases easier, and even prove who you are with a simple scan. But here's the problem: this convenience comes at a cost. When you put all of your personal information into one system, you're giving up a level of privacy and control that we've never seen before. What happens when governments or corporations or, worse, malicious actors have access to this data? What happens when they can track every single move you make, every purchase you make, every step you take? And let's not forget about the potential for abuse. The minute your ID, your bank account, your health information, and everything else you hold dear is tied to one centralized system, it opens the door for a level of control that we're not used to. A control that could be used for good or, in the wrong hands, for evil. This is where things get a little darker. Because when you have a digital ID that is tied to everything about you, governments or organizations can start to make demands. They can say, if you want to continue working, you need to have this ID. Or if you want to buy food, you need to show your ID. And if you don't comply, well, they could simply cut you off. Imagine a world where your ability to survive, to provide for your family, to have a job, all of that is tied to a piece of technology that someone else controls. It sounds like a nightmare, doesn't it? And yet, it's the path that we're on. This is what's happening in countries around the world, and it's not just an isolated incident. From the UK to Mexico to Vietnam, we're seeing countries roll out digital ID systems. In fact, in some places, you can't even get access to your own bank account unless you've handed over biometric data, fingerprints, facial recognition, and more. That's right. The very thing we thought would protect us, the very thing we thought would make our lives easier, could soon be the very thing that limits our freedoms. And you don't have to look far to see where this might lead. Think about the prophecy in the book of Revelation, where it speaks of the mark of the beast, a mark that will be placed on people's foreheads or hands, and without it, they won't be able to buy or sell anything. Now, I'm not saying that digital IDs are the mark of the beast, but the direction we're heading, a world where you can't function without this ID, is dangerously close to what the Bible warned us about. So, what do we do about this? How do we navigate this new world where our very existence could be controlled by a simple scan or a digital fingerprint? How do we protect our rights, our freedoms, and our futures in a world that seems to be moving toward total control? As we continue to move forward in this digital age, one of the most pressing concerns we have to face is the growing collection of biometric data. Now, I want you to really think about what this means. Your fingerprint, your face, your voice, all things that were once uniquely yours. Things you thought were private are now being collected, stored, and cataloged. And for what purpose? At first it seems harmless. After all, biometric data is just another way to secure your identity, right? a way to make sure the right person is doing the right thing at the right time. But what happens when this data, the very essence of who you are, is no longer under your control? What happens when it's in the hands of someone else, someone you don't trust, and they decide to use it for reasons you can't predict? It's not just about being able to unlock your phone anymore. This is about something much bigger. Governments, corporations, even third-party entities can now access your personal information, track your movements, monitor your behavior, and in some cases, manipulate your actions. It's not just about security, it's about surveillance. And let's be clear here, once this data is out there, once it's stored in databases, there's no going back. It's no longer just your fingerprint. It's your entire life, packaged up and ready for someone to do with it what they please. This isn't paranoia, this is the reality of what we're seeing happening right now. In places like Vietnam, for example, people are finding their bank accounts shut down because they refuse to hand over their biometric data. Think about that for a moment. You've worked hard, saved your money, and one day, just like that, it's taken away from you because you don't comply with the system. Does that sound like freedom to you? And it's not just limited to Vietnam. Across the globe, countries are moving toward a cashless society, and biometric data is at the core of that shift. We've already seen it in the UK, Mexico, and other nations where biometric identification is being required for everything from accessing bank accounts to voting. The ability to buy and sell is quickly becoming tied to our ability to prove we are who we say we are. And what happens when they decide that you no longer deserve access to these basic rights? If your ID is tied to everything, your ability to work, to buy food, to access healthcare, then losing access to that ID means losing your right to exist in the world as we know it. It's a system where compliance is mandatory and there's no room for resistance. This is where things get truly dangerous, because once they have your biometric data, they have everything they need to track you, control you, and manipulate you. And it doesn't stop there. These systems are constantly evolving, and it's only a matter of time before the tools that are meant to keep us safe become the tools that enslave us. And the scariest part is that we've been conditioned to accept it. We've been sold the idea that this is for our safety, that it's for our convenience, that it's for our protection. But is it really? Or is it just another step toward total control where every aspect of our lives is monitored and dictated by someone else? Now, as if the rise of digital IDs wasn't enough, we're now facing the next big challenge, digital currency. And let me tell you, this is something we need to pay close attention to. We're hearing more and more about central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, being rolled out around the world. This isn't just a theoretical idea anymore. It's happening right now, and it's setting the stage for a complete overhaul of the way we think about money. Imagine for a moment that all of your finances, your savings, your transactions, every dollar you earn and spend could be controlled by the government, not just in terms of who gets what, but in terms of how you spend it. With digital currency, every purchase you make, every transaction can be tracked, monitored, and even restricted. It's not just about making payments easier or faster, it's about control. The idea of a fully digital currency might seem convenient, right? After all, who wouldn't want to be able to make transactions with just a tap of their phone or a scan of their hand? It sounds like the future, and in many ways it is. But here's the problem. When your money is completely digital, it's no longer something you hold in your hands. It's a number on a screen, controlled by a system that can be altered, frozen, or deleted at any time. What happens if the government doesn't agree with what you've bought or who you've given your money to? What happens if they decide you've spent too much on something they don't approve of, or that you've donated money to a cause they don't like? With digital currency, all they have to do is press a button. Suddenly, your ability to buy or sell can be taken away in an instant. You see, digital currency isn't just a payment method, it's a tool for control. Imagine a world where you can't buy food or pay your bills unless you're in line with the government's policies. You think it sounds far-fetched, but when you have total control over the currency, you have total control over the people. This isn't just about efficiency anymore. It's about creating a system where freedom is conditional on compliance. And here's the kicker. The more countries move toward a cashless society, the more power governments gain. Without physical money in our hands, there's no way to truly escape the system. Your every move, your every purchase will be tracked, controlled, and regulated. And if you don't comply with the rules, well, that's when the consequences kick in. They can freeze your account, limit your purchases, or even take your money away. I'm not talking about conspiracy theories here. This is happening now in countries around the world, and it's only a matter of time before it reaches all corners of the globe. We're seeing it with the rise of digital currencies, and we're seeing it with the way governments are pushing for cashless systems. It's the next step in the control mechanism that's already being built, a system where your financial freedom is no longer in your hands, but in the hands of the people who control the digital currency. So, what does this mean for us as individuals? How do we protect our financial freedom in a world that's moving so quickly toward a digital economy? And how can we stand firm in our values when it feels like the world is trying to dictate how we live, how we spend, and ultimately how we survive? As we've seen, the rise of digital IDs and digital currencies is more than just an innovation. It's a profound shift in how we interact with the world. But what happens when these systems are used not to help us, but to control us? The risk of totalitarian control through technology is real, and it's something we need to pay attention to. Think about it. When your identity, your money, your health, and even your daily movements are all stored in one digital system, the potential for abuse is staggering. And what's even scarier is how easy it would be for those in power to manipulate this system. Imagine a world where every decision you make, every place you go, every action you take is monitored and tracked by the very technology you rely on every day. It sounds like something out of a dystopian novel, right? But the truth is, we're already seeing the early stages of this kind of control in the world today. Governments and corporations are increasingly adopting these digital systems, and with each step, we give up a little more of our freedom. And once you give up a freedom, history tells us you rarely get it back. Look around the world and you'll see these systems already in place. In some countries, it's not just about convenience anymore, it's about compliance. If you don't have the right ID, you can't work. If you don't have the right biometric data, you can't access your bank account. If you don't use digital currency, you can't buy food. And here's the thing, once a system like this is in place, it becomes almost impossible to break free from it. This is where the risk of totalitarian control comes in. When technology is used to control every aspect of your life, it's easy for those in power to keep track of you, influence your decisions, and even punish you for not complying with their rules. It's a world where privacy is no longer a right, it's a privilege that can be taken away at any moment. And it's happening right now. Think about the social credit system in China, where people's behavior is monitored, scored, and controlled by the government. If you do something they don't like, your score drops, and suddenly you lose access to services, to transportation, even to your job. It's a system that punishes people for thinking differently, for stepping out of line. And while this might sound extreme, the technology to implement such systems is already here. The only thing standing in the way is the will to do so. Now, I know this might sound a little overwhelming, but here's the thing. We can't ignore it. We have to wake up to the reality of where we're heading, because once this kind of control is in place, it's nearly impossible to take it back. The systems that are being built today, digital IDs, digital currencies, and the infrastructure that supports them are setting the stage for a future where the government or corporations can control your every move, your every decision. It's a future where your freedom is only as secure as the system that holds your data. And that, my friends, is a dangerous road to walk. As we continue to see these systems of control take shape, it's important to listen to those who are sounding the alarm. One of the most prominent voices against the rise of digital IDs is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In a world that often feels like it's rushing headlong into these changes, RFK's warning stands as a powerful reminder of what's at stake. He's been outspoken about the dangers of complying with digital IDs, and his words echo a concern that many of us share. But why is he so adamant about not complying? Why does he see this as something we must resist with everything we've got? Well, when you think about it, it's simple. Digital IDs are not just a matter of convenience, they're a gateway to a kind of control that we have never experienced before. RFK understands this, and that's why he's urging us to take a stand now before it's too late. You see, these systems, as convenient as they may seem, open the door to a future where our every move is tracked, monitored, and controlled. And if we give in now, if we accept these systems without question, we're handing over our freedom without even realizing it. RFK's warning isn't just about privacy, it's about freedom. It's about the power to live our lives without constant surveillance, without being controlled by a system that can cut us off from everything we need in an instant. He's not alone in this. Across the world, people are waking up to the fact that this is not just a digital transformation, it's a shift in the very fabric of our society. And if we don't speak up now, if we don't take action now, we may find ourselves in a world where we no longer have the power to choose for ourselves. RFK has called this turnkey totalitarianism. And while that may sound dramatic, the reality is it's happening right now. As governments and corporations move toward this all-encompassing system of digital control, we need to ask ourselves, are we willing to comply? Are we willing to let go of our freedom just for the sake of convenience? Because if we do, we may never get it back. And that's why RFK's message is so important. It's a call to resist. It's a reminder that we don't have to just accept the world that's being built for us. We have a choice. We can stand up for our rights, for our privacy, and for our freedom. But it starts with us, with each of us, deciding not to comply with systems that seek to strip us of our individuality, our privacy, and ultimately our power. Now, RFK's message is strong and it's clear, but it's not just about rejecting digital IDs. It's about standing firm in the face of a world that wants to control us and choosing instead to hold on to the values that have made us free. And the question is, will we rise to that challenge? Will we take a stand not just for ourselves, but for future generations who will inherit this world? As we walk through these unsettling changes in our world, from digital IDs to the rise of digital currencies, it's natural to start asking the big questions. And one of the biggest questions that many of us are grappling with is this: are we witnessing the fulfillment of the biblical prophecy about the mark of the beast? Now, I want to be clear right from the start. I'm not saying that these technologies, digital IDs, biometric data, or even digital currencies are the actual mark that the Bible talks about in Revelation 13. But what I do want to emphasize is this: the systems that we are seeing unfold today are setting the stage for something much bigger. The Bible warns us about a time when the Antichrist will rise to power, and he will demand that everyone, great and small, receive a mark either on their forehead or on their hand, and without it, no one will be able to buy or sell anything. For many years, people read these words, and it seemed like a distant, almost impossible reality. But as we look around today, the technology that would make this possible is already in place. Think about it. We're already living in a world where our identity, our money, and even our health are all becoming digitized. A world where everything is tracked, controlled, and monitored through technology. Now, it's easy to say that these things are just tools for convenience, tools that make our lives easier. And in many ways, they are. But here's the question we need to ask ourselves: are we moving toward a system that could be used to control us, to strip us of our freedom, and to force us into compliance? When we look at the prophecy in Revelation, it speaks of a time when the Antichrist will use a mark to control the economy. You won't be able to buy or sell anything without it. In other words, it's not just a mark, it's a means of control. It's a way of saying you can't live in this world without bowing to the system. And when we look at the direction we're headed, it's hard to ignore the similarities. We're talking about a world where your ability to buy, sell, and even work is tied to a digital system, a system that can be shut off at a moment's notice if you don't comply. Can you see the connection? Can you see how the technology that's being implemented today could be used in a way that mirrors what the Bible warned about? Now, I want to make something clear. I'm not here to scare you, but I do believe it's important that we understand the times we're living in. These are not just coincidental developments. These are steps that are leading us toward a future where our freedoms could be taken away and where we could be forced to choose between the system and our faith. The mark of the beast isn't just about a physical mark on our skin. It's about the control of our lives, our resources, and ultimately our souls. And while we're not there yet, we can't ignore the path we're heading down. It's a path where the systems we've created to make life easier could one day be used to force compliance, to eliminate privacy, and to control every aspect of our lives. So, as we think about the mark of the beast, it's not just a prophecy that might come to pass someday, it's a warning. A warning about what could happen if we don't wake up to what's happening right now. And more importantly, it's a call for us to stand firm in our faith, to resist the pressure to conform, and to trust that no matter what comes, God is still in control. As we stand on the edge of these profound changes, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like we're powerless in the face of growing technological control, or that the world is moving in a direction we can't change. But let me tell you, my friends, we don't have to stand by and watch. We have a choice. And it's a choice that's rooted in something much stronger than the systems of this world. It's rooted in our freedom in Christ. You see, the Bible makes it clear. We are called to be a people who resist the forces of evil. We're called to stand firm in our faith, no matter the pressure around us. The Apostle Paul says in Ephesians 6:13, "Therefore take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand." The key word here is stand. We are to stand firm, to resist the temptation to give in to the systems that seek to control us, to monitor us, and to make us slaves to the world. But how do we do that? How do we maintain our freedom in Christ in a world that's pushing us toward total control? First, we have to recognize that our true freedom is not in the systems of this world, but in Christ alone. Jesus said in John 8:36, "So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed." Our freedom is not dependent on what the government does, what technology does, or what the world does. Our freedom comes from the one who created the world and holds all things together. When we put our trust in Christ, we are free from the fear of man, free from the fear of the future, and free from the chains of sin. And that freedom, my friends, is something that no government, no digital ID, and no currency system can take away. But here's the challenge: living out that freedom in a world that's increasingly trying to control us. It's not always easy to resist the pressure to conform, especially when it feels like everyone else is moving in the same direction. But that's where faith comes in. In the face of pressure, we must hold fast to the truth of God's Word. We must be willing to say, "No, I will not bow to the systems of this world. I will not let fear dictate my actions. I will stand for what is right, what is true, and what is in line with the will of God." And we don't do this alone. We do this together as a community of believers. We support one another, pray for one another, and encourage one another to stand firm in the faith. We need each other more than ever. This is the time to be bold. This is the time to speak out. This is the time to say, "I will not let the world define me. I will let Christ define me." And as we do that, we will find strength, peace, and courage that can only come from God. It's important to remember that resistance doesn't mean rebellion for rebellion's sake. It means standing for what is right in the eyes of God, no matter the cost. It means trusting in His sovereignty even when the world seems to be falling apart. And it means living in such a way that we reflect the love, grace, and truth of Jesus Christ no matter what systems are in place to try and stop us. As we reflect on the call to resist and the importance of standing firm in our faith, we need to look beyond today. We need to think about the future, not just for ourselves, but for our children and the generations to come. The choices we make today will shape the world they inherit, and it's vital that we understand the gravity of this moment. You see, we're living in a time of transition, a time when everything is changing from how we work, to how we live, to how we interact with one another. And while some of these changes are good, others come with a cost. We're facing a decision, my friends, and it's one that we cannot afford to ignore. Will we live in a world where our freedoms are slowly stripped away, where our actions are constantly monitored, and where our very thoughts could be controlled? Or will we fight for a future where freedom still means something, a future where we can live according to the values that we hold dear, where we can still make choices that align with our faith, and where we can be the people that God has called us to be? That's the choice we face right now. And the truth is, it's not just about technology, it's about the heart of humanity. It's about what kind of world we want to leave behind. Do we want to leave behind a world where everything is controlled, where people are afraid to speak out, afraid to think for themselves, and afraid to live in the freedom that Christ offers? Or do we want to leave behind a world where people are free to follow their conscience, free to live with purpose, and free to worship God without fear of persecution? The road ahead is clear. We can either accept the systems that are being built for us, systems that promise convenience, but come with the cost of our freedom, or we can resist. And I'm not talking about a resistance rooted in anger or violence. I'm talking about a resistance grounded in peace, in love, and in the truth of the gospel. A resistance that says, I will not let fear control me. I will not let this world define who I am. Because, my friends, the choice is ours. It always has been. And if we choose wisely, if we choose to stand for freedom and for the principles that Christ laid out for us, then we will ensure that the future is bright, not just for us, but for everyone who comes after us. This is our time. The future of humanity is in our hands, and it's up to us to decide what kind of world we want to create. Do we want to live in a world of control and fear, or do we want to live in a world of freedom, hope, and grace? As we come to the close of this conversation, I want to remind you of something very important. No matter what we face in this world, whether it's the rise of technology, the shift in how we live, or the pressures that come with these changes, we can always find peace and hope in God's plan. The Bible tells us in Jeremiah 29-11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I know that with everything happening around us, it can feel like the world is spiraling out of control. It can feel like we're being swept along by forces much bigger than ourselves, and sometimes it might even feel like there's no way out. But let me remind you, God is still in control. He is still on His throne. And no matter what the world throws our way, we are not alone. As we talked about today, these systems of control, the digital IDs, the digital currencies, the surveillance, they may seem overwhelming. They may seem like they're leading us to a future where our freedoms are stripped away. But I want you to know that God has already prepared a way for us to stand firm. We don't have to fear the future because we know that He holds the future. And while it's important to stay alert, to resist the forces that seek to control us, we can do so with the confidence that God's plan for us is far greater than anything the world can offer. His plan is one of freedom, hope, and love. And no matter what challenges we face, we can trust that He will never leave us or forsake us. Our call is not just to resist the world's systems, but to stand in the freedom that Christ has already won for us on the cross. That is our true identity. That is our true security. We don't have to rely on the systems of this world to define us or to keep us safe. Our safety, our security, and our hope come from Him alone. So as we move forward, let's trust in God's plan. Let's hold fast to the promises He has given us, knowing that He is leading us through these times and that we can have confidence in His guidance. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but we know the one who holds tomorrow. And with that truth, we can face the future with courage, knowing that whatever comes, God's plan is always for our good. Let me leave you with this. No matter how uncertain the world may seem, you can trust that God has a purpose for your life, and His plan will always prevail. So stand firm, my friends, and trust in God's plan. He has got this, and He's got you. God bless you, and remember, the best is yet to come.